Good afternoon everyone and welcome to this new episode of our podcast. And I say ours because we build it together, since teachers, students, friends, relatives contribute and propose topics so that we can always reflect in dialogue based on education. This time we are going to talk about educational robotics specifically, and although we have already mentioned this topic previously, it is important to incorporate notions of educational robots and some examples that circulate in the market and a concept that we will discuss in the next episode that I will mention before. To close this episode. So, get comfortable and let's start this journey. They are ready. Welcome aboard. To begin, let's start thinking about the definition of a robot. The RAE, that is, the Royal Spanish Academy, defines a robot as a machine or programmable electronic device capable of manipulating objects and performing operations that were previously reserved only for people. I suggest that you make an analogy, make a comparison with the human body and the different parts that a robot has. We can start to think about the body. The body of the robot is the structure that supports it. In this case it is made of strong materials such as metal or plastic. Sensors. In the case of robots, sensors are the eyes and ears of the robot that allow it to detect the world around it. We also have the actuators that we can say are the muscles of the robot that allow it to move and perform actions, and finally we can think about the brain, that the brain in the robot is its control system. It is the one that tells the sensors what to detect. And the actuators what to do. To make a little bit of history, we can start to say, when this notion of a robot began to be thought of, and the word robot was invented by the Czech writer Karel Čapek to designate the automata in his science fiction play back in 1921. In Prague. The work was titled RUR, which the acronym means Rozum Universal Robots. This word that Čapek took precisely from the Czech term robota, which refers to hard work, and almost 100 years later, automata have begun to be part of the development and learning process of our children and our students and who today are educational robots. Now, a few episodes ago we mentioned educational robotics. Educational robotics, also known as pedagogical robotics, is a discipline that helps students get started in robotics and interactive programming from a very early age. In the case of primary education teaching, educational robotics makes available to students everything necessary to easily build and program a robot that can perform different tasks. There are also robots that are more advanced and that obviously have a higher cost that are also intended for secondary and higher education, but in any case the complexity of the discipline is always adapted to the age of the students. Educational robotics is included within the so-called STEAM education, which is what we have been sharing since the first episode, which is a teaching model intended to jointly teach science, mathematics and technology in where practice is above theory but without leaving it aside, nor detract from it. Now the important thing is to think about how these robots can benefit us or help us in the educational task, how they can benefit our students to learn new things or through them to learn the different subjects that we have at school. Educational robots allow students of any age to become familiar with and deepen the study of robotics and programming while learning other cognitive skills. Already at an early age, educational robots help children develop while they play one of the basic cognitive skills of logical mathematical thinking, which is computational thinking. That is, they help develop the mental process that we use to solve problems of different kinds through a sequence of ordered actions. We are going to expand on this concept in the next episode, which is why I don't want to get ahead of myself in its development because it deserves a more detailed episode. Now, in addition to developing computational thinking, educational robots favor the development of certain skills that I am going to mention now, and others may obviously appear, but I want to highlight the most important ones. First, Learning from mistakes means discovering that errors are not definitive but rather a source of learning new conclusions that can help us for the future. Another skill that they allow us to develop is teamwork, precisely being able to pose group challenges, and this favors socialization and collaboration with others. Another important thing is adaptation, since we are having an increase in automation and in intelligent devices. Being able to become familiar with the use of robots will make our students better able to adapt to the world not of tomorrow but of today, because it is already part of our daily life. Another important thing is creativity, being able to look for solutions, and precisely the freedom to assign new functions to these robots can stimulate our students' imagination and creativity. Another important skill is self-esteem. Being able to achieve success in a new field improves students' perception of themselves. Another important skill is entrepreneurship. In addition to increasing their self-esteem, success in a field or in a subject can encourage them to tackle new tasks in other fields or in other subjects, that is, this can be transpolated or transferred to other areas. A penultimate skill to develop can be self-evaluation, that is, being able to see the results of their actions at the moment without the need for an adult to tell them what they have done well or badly, and in this way students learn to value their own performance even if we, as teachers, are going to be there guiding them, accompanying them. But this also allows that capacity for self-reflection and thinking, well, what did I do wrong, how can I improve it? That is another skill that can allow the development or rather the use of educational robots. And finally, practical applications, that is, the fact of putting into practice mathematical or physical knowledge learned at school motivates children and young people to continue studying these subjects. I always tell them, I tell my students, I do not pretend that they are all engineers in systems or professors in computer science, but it is good that from this place they can develop these skills that will serve them in other fields, whether it is the career they want to choose tomorrow. Well then, another important benefit that educational robots can bring us is that they teach children and young people to learn, as I said at the beginning, basic concepts of programming, and this concept, let's say of programming, is increasing in recent years. To give an example or bring a colored fact, the European Commission in 2020 already statistically estimated that on that continent it was going to happen that 825,000 jobs, if you heard correctly, 825,000 jobs were going to be unfilled due to the lack of science professionals of computing and ICTs. That is to say, this also makes us think about the need for us teachers to inform ourselves in these areas, not so that we become, as I said a moment ago, systems engineers or systems analysts or developers or software developers, but rather let's be STEAM teachers. Teachers who have knowledge in these areas to transfer them to the classroom, and in the case of secondary and higher education, educational robots help students deepen their knowledge of robotics and programming. Obviously, through more advanced models there are robots that they are more humanoid, that obviously have a slightly higher cost, that are programmed to teach any subject, and that are also useful in classrooms thanks to their ability to attract the attention of students and in robotics and programming classes, because they act as link between theory and practice. There are many robots that have a more human appearance, for example, a mecha. You can see it on YouTube or Google it if you wish, and it is a robot that has very particular features that closely resemble that of a human being, and which is in constant evolution and change and is becoming more and more perfect. So it is not crazy to think that a robot with these characteristics is teaching, in some cases, some type of course, some type of subject in the future. Well, we already talked about educational robots, about their characteristics, what skills can help us develop, and so on. Now what I wanted to share with you was what are those educational robots that are circulating in the market, or that would be the most popular and that could be useful for us to work in schools. And I am making a clarification, that does not mean that you have to go out and buy these robots. Obviously, if you have the possibility, the institution can afford it, it is great, but I do not want to make a call to have to go out and buy this because we understand that they have a cost and that therefore depending on the realities of each place, it may not be possible to obtain it and we will have to work with other programs. So I am simply going to take 4 educational robots that are the most popular today. The first is Make Block. It is a robot with wheels that is designed for children to get started in robotics, programming and electronics. It is easy to assemble and is easily controlled thanks to Scratch-based software that is designed for children. Its compatibility with the Make Block platform, in that case, see the program that you can download from Google, and from this page, it is precisely an M-Block, which allows users to connect the parts of this robot to this program and be able to work without any type of difficulty. Another educational robot is called OUI 535. OUI is a robotic arm suitable for young people from 13 years old. It can lift objects weighing up to 100 grams and has a wide variety of movements that can be customized thanks to programming. This robot is also recommended for vocational training cycles. The third example is Lego. Lego has a series of robots that are several kits adapted for different ages, but one of the most popular on the market is Lego Mindstorms. It is a robotic being that includes several sensors, 3 servo motors, more than 500 Lego elements, and thanks to which you can create different robots capable of moving, shooting, crawling, etc. It is controlled through a simple programming interface and has 2 versions, Home and Education. This robot is recommended for children over 10 years old, and the last thing I want to share with you is called Now. It is one of the best known educational robots in the world. It is a humanoid robot that is 58 centimeters high and is constantly evolving. It has 2 cameras, 4 microphones and a multitude of sensors that allow it to interact with the environment. Environment similar to a human. Now is able to observe, listen, maintain dialogues and teach classes on any subject thanks to his faculties and different levels of programming. He can participate in the learning process of students from the age of 5 to university. Well then, today we were talking about educational robotics, different types of robots that circulate the market skills precisely that allow us to develop the use of these robots. Thank you for listening to me, thank you for your time, and we will be meeting in the next episode where we will begin to talk about computational thinking and its importance in education. A hug.